This is Wesley broadcasting from all the places that we usually do, I hope. I am, oh yeah, there we are. I'm here on Signum Academy, on Twitch, on Facebook, and possibly a few other places, hoping that everything's working right, to talk about Mother 3, the final game in our EarthBound series. And as we've been going through these games, we've been relating them back to the works of J.R.R. Tolkien and to fantasy more generally. The systems all seem to be working really smoothly today. So I got here thinking I was running late, but actually, I guess I am actually on time today. That's cool. All right, let's get to it. There's our there's our tab we want. I wanted to share this first of all today. I'll get rid of this banner in a second, but there's a weird URL here from the web archive. The Internet Archive is a very worthy cause if you're interested in um, going off of your fundraising campaign for Signum, which just kind of wrapped up here, although we are always happy to take more donations. Um, it's a great idea to donate to the Internet Archive as well. They just have such a wealth of resources there. I mean, the place where all websites go once they can no longer be found. You get errors if you try to go to old websites. A lot of those, if you copy that URL and you take it to the Wayback Machine on the Internet Archive, they will have captured screenshots of everything that was on that website. It's remarkable. So I'll get rid of that banner now after that little plug for them. So anyways, this website here is through the people who made starmen.net. That's where we were looking at the walkthrough for Mother, and they're the great Earthbound community that's been around for, I don't know, 20 years or so now. And at some point, they spun off into these other merchandising products and projects where they create really beautiful books, gifts, t-shirts, collectibles of all kinds. They make, I guess, like plushy dolls and things that are just of the highest quality, really. And so this one, they've made pretty much freely available online, although obviously now that website is defunct. It's still freely available if you know how to find it. And the handbook that they've created here for Mother 3 is essentially a love letter to the original Earthbound strategy guide or player's guide that was an official part of the Super Nintendo release. Now, as we talked about, Mother 3, the sequel to Earthbound, which never had a release outside of Japan. Um, you can play it. Again, you sort of have to know what you're up to, but some savvy searching will get you what you need. Um, and of course, there's always videos to watch, and we'll watch our playthrough here. Um, in the same way, there was never an official player's guide, of course, and so the team at Fangamer, a lot of those starmen.net regulars, got together and created one that is just about as good as anything that Nintendo could have produced, I think. Um, the team, of course, is closely connected with the actual translator of this that fan translation project. Again, Tomato, the handle of Clyde Mandolin. Um, really, probably the authority on Earthbound in certainly in English, and very knowledgeable of Japanese as well. So with all those acknowledgments, gratitudes, let's see where we left off here. So I think if we go over Oh, and of course, oh, Druid's Fire, thank you. Yes, not a problem at all. And it was great. That webathon was a lot of fun. Um, yeah, if you ever have comments, questions, put them in the chat on Twitch. I'll try to monitor that. Here's our Game Boy Advance player screen. I kind of wish they'd get rid of it, but I guess it helps with the pixelation that you're gonna get here. So let's just play it. We left off rescuing fuel from his cabin as it was collapsing in the fire, and now we're covered in soot. Let's see. Recovering from our battle with that flying mouse. Um, Possibly a little joke there. Um, because of all the opera music references in this game, um, the Flying Mouse in German is the name of a famous work. Well, so let's skip ahead a bit here. We can beat up little creatures in the forest all day, but that's not what we're here for, right? Gaining levels? Nah. All right, so Flint is going to turn in for the night. He still hasn't found his kids, his wife. Well, there's a present. That's not too bad. Another antidote. Those are free. I think we're going to say goodnight here. Get some rest. All right. He's going to stop us from leaving. Listen to that rainfall. Oh boy. Well, that's not ominous at all. He says he heard the roars of a drago and then what might have been screams. Of course, we cannot find Hinawa, the wife and the kids. Running home. There's a letter from Hinawa. Oh, right. So it's not a dream sequence. It's a letter sequence that we're going to get here. Dear Flint, just like you said they would, the children have been running around the mountains and fields tirelessly since the moment we arrived. Klaus is as daring and full of energy as ever, while Lucas is still a bit coddled, but neither one seems tired of playing at all. My father seems sad to say goodbye to his grandchildren after seeing them for the first time in so long, but we should be home by this evening. I'd forgotten how nice and refreshing the mountain air is. You're always covered in the smell of sheep back in Tasmilly village, so I really wish you could have been here to take in this air. The next time we visit, let's ask one of our neighbors to tend to the sheep, so we can all come up here as a family. Klaus, Lucas, and I were always thinking about you. When we get home this evening, I'll start cooking some of your favorite gelatin right away. With love, your dearest Hinawa. So the gelatin, of course, and all these names can be changed. Very sentimental thing here, listening to that music play like a music box, reading that letter over and over. I think we saw her write the very same letter earlier and send it by carrier pigeon. We're still not back. So the fire in the forest is out, but our next goal here becomes clear. We're gonna go searching for the missing family. The dog Boney joins the party. And again, this will seem familiar. If you've played EarthBound, you know that is your first party member in that game as well. But you'd see immediately this is a bit different. Boney is not one of those party members who has no actual compatibility or functionality. You can actually go in and see Boney's stats, his items. He's a genuine party member here, not just something temporary for this one sequence. And in a way, Boney is the longest serving party member in the game, as he'll stick with you until the very end. Alright, so we're going to look for the kids. Little secret over here. We'll skip ahead a bit. Running around the forest. Alright, so they realize that there is certainly some Drago activity going on here at the far end of the forest. Knock down trees blocking the way. Have to find another way around. And they are really taking their time about these little scenes. Laying it on just a little bit thick, maybe. But I think we get the idea. This is a desperate situation. We're all very worried. Bad vibes. And they can see that the Drago climbed up the cliff. All right. Again, bad feelings about all this. So Boney notices something up on the cliffside. Look up there, there's a scrap of cloth, a bit of red. So the camera pans up, music fades out. They recognize Old Man Wes. Good name. They insult him right away that he's a rickety old man, but he's got some tricks up his sleeve. Scaling this cliff face is just too dangerous. But you know, maybe my son could be of use. I don't know if it'll help. Let's get him here. Right, so Wes has a plan. When we're kind of stuck here, it's this old man who has Boney, and this is one of the great scenes of the game, I think. Wants to send Boney to get this lazy son, a strange but nice guy with unexpected skills. His default name is Duster. Okay, Ska. His name's Duster. I think that's as in the article of clothing. They sniff his sock, and then Boney... Even Boney thinks that that smells pretty bad. message with the yellow ribbon on his collar. Now fetch. Love this part. Boney is on a mission to find the son of Old Man Wes, who we just saw sleeping away. Follows his nose to the house, scratching at the door, barking to try to wake him up, but he's sleeping. Now what'll Boney do? Drags him through the rain, sleeping all the way, until finally he does wake up and comes at a run. Great sequence there. And he gets brought into the story as a thief. He's a thief type character, and he's going to use his technique to scale this cliff. Let's, he's putting these skills to the test. And you notice that the bass comes in strongly here. The bass is associated with young Duster. Alright, so that's the wall scaling. Up we go. Just checking if anyone's put any comments in. Oh, greet Infamoda and chat and gotta catch them all. So a Pokemon fan in the house, meow _ indeed. Love it. Love it. I don't really understand all of what you typed there, but feel free to type more to explain. So Duster does join the party here. Again, he will be, although it looks like he might be one of those temporary members, turns out he's going to be another permanent member of the party. So our party has grown to 3. And we can inspect, we can see that this is the color of Hinawa's dress. A little bit ominous. And that's not the worst of it. Well, battles get real easy for a minute here because we've got 3 party members working. Gaining levels. Alright. Now, just to point one thing out here. In this cave, oh jeez. Pause it. I don't know how far to take this, but I've been told this patch of darker colored dirt is a representation of the islands of Japan. That seems possible. You got your smaller islands off to the side and then the main island in the middle. I guess if you studied Japanese geography enough, that might look pretty much like it to you. That's one of the things Tomato points out in his playthrough. And here we go, getting a look at some of the villains of this game. At long last, we're within striking distance of these pig mask wearing, caribou modifying, and cowardly soldiers of the pig army. These people who've invaded, and they have modified the animals, mixed them with bionic parts, and made them very aggressive. So here's our first real boss battle. Now, becomes clear that Duster can use his skills in battle as well as out in the field. Um, Boney's skill is to sniff at enemies to smell their weaknesses. Um, he also can throw items, which are pretty handy. And this enemy is prone to numbness. So it got numbed by the Thunder Bomb there. It will get numbed every time Duster uses wall staple attack. And that makes this battle a lot easier, if you know that sort of thing. Okay. So something very unnatural happening here, or at least some sort of mixture of technology and nature. Another fun fact worth pointing out, the creator of the game also makes a lot of money. Maybe even his primary business is actually selling stationery. He has a very popular line of journals and diaries that he sells. And so this pig snout notebook is maybe a subtle dig at himself. They talk about how they're going to make these enemies tougher, rougher, and badder to create whole new things no one's ever seen. The fascinating Chimera project. So, and there's the device. Looks kind of like the Mr. Saturn phase distorter from EarthBound. So, moving along. Come to a dead end. Gotta go back down. Travel around. And proceed to the fireplace. So everyone's gathered here. There's the twins. And there's their clothes drying. They're wrapped in a blanket. But still no Hinawa. Now, folks out there in discussion, if you don't want spoilers for this game, I think you'd better find another thing to do for a minute here. This is another one of those kind of iconic moments in the game, and really in game history, I'd say. The reuniting of the twins with their father, and the absence of the mother. Remember, the series title is Mother in Japanese. This game is called Mother 3. Screen fades out on that embrace. Fell into the river and washed downstream. But neither will speak. Or at least they won't speak about what happened. So Bronson has news. Stay calm and hear me out. I have good news and I have bad news. Which do you want to hear first? Nope. Let me start with the good news first. I picked up a giant Drago Fang. It'll make for a great weapon. Figured you could probably use it. ... As for the bad news... ... The bad news is... it's where I found the Drago Fang. It was in your... It was pierced through your wife's heart. Quite the bad news. And Flint left slamming his fist into the ground. Bronson tells him to try to stay calm. And he says the reason Klaus and Lucas are safe and sound now is because Hinawa risked her life to protect them. But Flint is having none of it. He won't be comforted by Tessie. Brushes her aside. Punches into the fire, lifts a stick, swings it wildly, and can't be consoled. His kids are watching this. And someone points this out to Flint, but no, he smacks him. No one knows what to say. Try to pull yourself together. But he strikes him down. Tessie goes to cover the boy's eyes, and another tries to go and stop him. He knocks him down. Finally, Bronson tells him Klaus and Lucas are watching. And he has to be taken out by Isaac with the big 2x4 from behind. KO. Good night, Flint. But what a sequence. And we have these flashbacks with a kind of pastel coloration. Don't hear what's being said. Of course, that's a tradition in Japanese role-playing games. A lot of pantomiming happening. A lot of thought bubbles and speech bubbles. Apparently something that was said made him a little mad, though. They weren't sure quite why. He's feeling maybe a little left out, maybe abandoned. Left behind with Boney and the sheep while the kids go up to visit Hinawa's dad, Alec. And symbolically walking off into the light. That's it. Hinawa is gone. This character we named with the naming screen, the mother in the game series called Mother, is killed off in the first hour and a half of the game, in the first 90 minutes or so of the playthrough of this 12, 15-hour game. That is quite the decision. And Flint is left in jail. So we've been going through this pretty slowly here so far. Got to catch them all after all. There is quite a bit to notice in this part one here. The desperate search, the torn apart as they call it here in the walkthrough. So let's take a look. The aftermath of the tragedy. Flint behind bars. We hear about Alec, and we hear about the cemetery. If you click in here, it just changes to the next screen. That brings us to the end, I believe, of chapter 1. There's this wild moment here where in other games from this era, there were twists where a character is killed off. But so early in the game, it comes as quite a shock. And the way that that news gets delivered, right, with the good news, bad news thing, it's handled in such a strange way. There's something so playful about it and awkward and just as if, well, it seems as if this village, nothing like this has ever happened. There's never been quite this kind of tragedy, and no one really knows how to approach it. No one knows what to say. But what does seem clear is that Flint's way is not Correct. It's frowned upon by the others in the village. Responding with anger and violence and aggression against his neighbors gets him thrown into jail. This is the first time the jail's ever been used. Um, and he misses the funeral of his wife as a result. So we skip ahead. Dad, I thought you said anything could come true. As long as we prayed from the bottom of our hearts. Mom can't even punish me anymore now. I don't want it like this. It's terribly sad. And now, Alec is here, Lucas is here, but Klaus is missing again. Klaus has gone running off. So all these sunflowers symbolizing that seeking of light, that facing towards the light. And of course also very much the color scheme of this game, a kind of bright yellow color for the twins. Lucas doesn't want to go. Lucas doesn't want to tell what he knows, but he says his brother went off to kill the Drago that killed their mother. So he broke his word to his brother. He told on him, and he's feeling pretty down in the dumps because he didn't stop his brother from going. So now he runs off too. Everyone is concerned here. So no ordinary Drago. This just keeps going, right? The same kind of thing that we've seen, having to find these lost kids. We can grab our weapon, the Drago Fang. Other weapons and items for the taking here. All the townspeople feeling very bad about everything. We have to talk to, oh, it's not Isaac, sorry, it's Lighter. You hit him with the 2x4. And I think at this point you can get this 2x4 from him. So yet another powerful weapon. The manly bandana. Oh, it's the manly bandana that you get from him here. So lower defense, but higher offense. Probably a good trade-off. Past that very strange tall person again, back into the woods. And skipping ahead, sorry. Now those flying mice are just random enemies. That's how much stronger we become. So these dust bunnies up here, kind of a secret enemy. Alright, what are we trying to find? Yeah, that's where we're trying to go. So eventually Alec joins the party, guides us to this strange place on the other side of the forest. Where the music is reminiscent of Magicant. These people here apparently use a lot of heart emojis as they speak. They know Alec, they call him Snookums. And on this armchair throne here, we've got Aeolia. The Magypsies. Their names all seem to be related to music, different musical modes. One is missing. And They apparently helped Klaus head up to fight um, and avenge his mother. Hmm. This is a little bit strange, um, how little they seem to care about this. Aeolia sent him with a super powerful psi technique, and they didn't stop him. Um, the Magypsies have a different approach. Couldn't care less about you humans. Here 1 minute, gone the next. You barely live 100 years. A blink of an eye to us Magypsies. So their concerns are not the humans' concerns. Humans worry about such short lives. There's a kind of division among these Magypsies, it seems. A few of them seem to care about the humans, and the others do not. Again, they call him rambunctious. So, a few things we might mention here. The Magypsies, again, related to that idea of magic, of magicant, psi powers, they form maybe the clearest connection that we've seen so far, aside from the title and the style and all that stuff that frames the video game itself. But actually, within the story, these Magypsies, their musical theme, their apparent immortality, all relate them and this idea of psi powers back to the previous games. And people love to make up theories about this, so you'll find these all over analyses of the series that explain how the games are linked up together in this or that fashion. I personally don't have a strong feeling about that or a theory one way or the other, but I do think it's notable that these Magypsies are an indication that this is related to the world of Earthbound and Mother. What's going on here seems to be the kind of thing that we get in a lot of fantasy literature, uh, a lot of folk tales and fairy tales for that matter, an encounter with beings whose lives and experiences are much vaster than our own puny human intellect, right? We can't fully comprehend the way that they experience the world, um, but they are very powerful. They are apparently not exactly good or evil, but something else of their own. They don't really fit our understanding of things. They don't really seem concerned that much with our way of living and dying and experiencing the world. This is kind of a cool thing. It seems to be a a way to flesh out some of the story and some of the things that Earthbound and Mother were interested in, but didn't really dig into too much. Um, in particular, what is the deal with psi powers? Where does this magic or something like magic come from? What is it for? Um, these beings apparently sort of embody that power. Um, They also, it has to be noted, uh, are not either male or female particularly, but have strong qualities of both. They have beards, or at least 5 o'clock shadows. Some are bald. They have short hair. They have long hair. Some have very masculine features. Um, Others are very effeminate in the way that they dress or cross their legs or speak for that matter with those heart emojis. And that blending of the masculine, the feminine, is something that comes across, I think, in not only their design and their language, but also again this sense that the Magypsies don't follow the human social norms, the way that The family as presented here is very normative. It's got a father and a mother and the kids. Um, these Magypsies are something else. They're not following that established system. They have their own kind of society, apparently a very warm and inviting one, but again, one that the uh, parents and the grandparents are having a hard time understanding because they didn't stop the boy from going on his dangerous mission. So let's see where this winds up. Let's head up the mountain, see if there's any comments for now. All right, we're going to wrap this up here. Face off against the Drago. It's been modified. It's not a Drago anymore. Got a bad feeling about this. Here we go. Same aggressive attack. The Mecha Drago. We can use the Drago Fang to pierce through its defenses with a cool sound effect, must be said. War cry. Battle music is so cool. Alex concerned about his lower back pain. So Flint using all his bombs very wisely here, letting it all out. Gathers his strength. And eventually we can take out the Drago. It's time to deliver the final blow. And the baby Drago hops out. So you can see what is going on here, right? This idea that nature and human beings, although they can be corrupted, and the corruption here takes the form of technology, they also have a very deep connection. This human relationship and this animal relationship are in some way alike. And the Drago is protecting its mother, just like the twins wanted to protect theirs, or rather, the way the twins' mother protected them. And there, as the camera pans away, you can see somewhere in the background that Klaus has fallen down into the cleft. Some narration at the end of the chapter. It's possible that until now the people of Tazmily had never known sadness. On sunny days and on cloudy days, they always greeted each other with smiles. They lived in harmony with the creatures of the forest. The strong would help the weak. Those who had would share with those who had not. Some very elevated language here. It goes on. However, it now appears the villagers have learned all too much about sadness. Suddenly everything is changing for the worse. When did this change begin? Where did it begin? What set it in motion and why? Almost as if toys, the peaceful animals are being transformed into strange, ferocious creatures that attack people. Some people like Flint have even had their families torn apart. Just what is this suspicious group that wears pig masks? What are these eerie objects that soar through the once beautiful skies? And where could the missing Klaus be? You can see him just behind the text. The mysteries continue to pile up. And so the tale first begins as a tragedy. Dun dun dun. So very dramatic, very sentimental, this kind of melodrama. We understand the kind of story we're in now. It's not the kind of story that EarthBound and Mother were. Those very much comedic. And this still has those comedic elements, but this one opens with a tragedy. A very shocking twist, actually, for someone who comes to this game with some expectations like I did. Um, but it grows on you. So this lets us know that we're going to switch gears here. We're going to follow Duster for this next chapter. Um, they're parting here about 2.5 hours into the game. Um, and actually, it's very strange, but I pointed out the handbook because um, it's worth seeing at a glance here how this game is structured. We've got a total of 8 chapters plus the prologue. And now we've already played through the prologue in chapter 1. Um, chapters 2 and 3 actually take place um, simultaneously. Essentially, they're happening in different places, but they're happening at the same time. They overlap, and so we're approximately a quarter of the way through the game if you look into in terms of chapters. The next two are quite short, actually, but then there's some much longer and some much shorter ones. There's a lot of variation in these chapters. So um, for next time, I think I was expecting to get through more of this today, but ended up just getting pretty pulled into that tragic beginning of the story. We'll cover those next 2 chapters, chapters 2 and 3, for the start of December. Um, that will probably be the last time we talk. I don't know if I'll do another stream in December, but just the one. That'll bring us into the new year, and so we will have this continue into the start of the next year. But by then, probably by next time, maybe by next time, I'll have some more of an outlook about what's coming up in January and in the new year. Um, of course, this year's theme was that idea of Middle Earth to Earthbound, the connections between, say, Tolkien's elves and the Magypsies of Mother 3. I think those connections are very, very evident and quite interesting. So we'll continue with that for a few more weeks into the new year. But then I do have another theme in mind for next year's programming on Signum Academy on Twitch here. Um, I think we'll sign off for now, unless there's any last comments and questions. Let's remember, gotta catch them all. Thanks so much, everyone, for joining, whether live or watching this later. And you can see us first Monday in December for the next couple chapters. Thanks again. Take care.